I'd like to call this the meeting to order, and we're going right to a public hearing on CDBGA application. Steph?
Ms. Teller.
Thank you. The meeting is not officially open till after this hearing is over. What I'm going to do is ask those who are here to please just give us your name and address and where you are from. Someone's going to have to sign this. The state is very particular. They like to know that you want to sign. Can you all do this? Great. Thank you. This is the first of two public hearings regarding the Borough's 2017 Community Development Block Grant Program. The Borough receives federal funds from the State Department of Community and Economic Development that come from HUD. We're a little bit different from some of the other places in the county that get their money directly from HUD. Ours goes through the state. We receive the funds through a legislative act that has a formula that decides how much money each of the entitlement communities participating in the program get. This year, the formula has determined that the borough is eligible for $112,875, and that is a decrease of $1,566 from what we received last year. There are a variety of things that this money can be used for. It can be used for, however, the one caveat is that it has to benefit low and moderate income residents. Things that it can be used for is housing development, housing rehabilitation, water sewer projects, infrastructure, community services, public facility improvement, historic preservation, removal of architectural barriers, and acquisition and relocation of residents whose affordable homes are being lost to market rate homes. However, all of these have to be done within the context of a low moderate income area of the borough, which makes it very difficult for Conshohocken to find spots to do some of these other types of projects. Primarily, for as long as I've been here, the borough has used the money for housing rehabilitation. That is a project where we rehabilitate the homes of low and moderate income people, bring them up to code, allow them to remain in their homes. In the past 5 or 10 years, we've also used the money to install curb ramps at various streets for which the borough is responsible. This creates accessible routes through town and to various public facilities, to the downtown, lets people get around easier. Curb ramps are not just for people with disabilities, they're for older people, they're for ladies with strollers or with young children who don't walk very fast. It works very well. So the purpose of this public hearing is to ask you for any comments you might have on how the borough has spent this money in the past or how you think we should spend the money in the future. There will be a second public hearing in November to explain how the funds will be used, and we will accept written comments through November the 10th. The application is due to the state December the 8th. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions?
Chris, how much will that hurt us losing that little bit of money? Does it lower the amount of houses?
Yeah, that's our average housing cost right now is, some of it is because of the area in which we live, some of it is because of the housing stock. Our average rehab cost per house is about a little over $28,000 a house. So it will reduce the number, it might reduce the number by 1 or 2.
Okay.
We primarily use the CDBG money for the delivery costs associated with housing rehabilitation, but we always have some money to do 2 houses. It's important that we do have some money from CDBG to do houses because right now we have an amount of home money which we use for construction, but there are some things we cannot do with home money. We can't do anything for an emergency, and the houses have to fall within a particular value. We can't be rehabbing like new market rate houses that someone just happens to have become low income. So we keep that money. We have 1 or 2 now that we were going to do with home money that we are now doing with CD money.
You had a question?
Yes.
You had a question?
I just say, keep on doing curb cuts.
We don't know when we're going to be able to do curb cuts again. We have to do an evaluation of all the curb cuts in town because the state has put new requirements on where we can do them. So the ones we do with CD money tend to be the ones that aren't getting done, like if a developer is doing new houses and there's a corner, yes, they have to put in a curb cut. So we try and mix this with what the developers have to do in new construction and what we can do that leads to the different public facilities and creates the route. So we'll keep looking at it. Might not be this year, but we'll keep looking at it.
Chris?
Yes.
Money has to be used in the year it's allocated, it doesn't roll, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay.
The contracts up until 2017 have been 5-year contracts, and you have to spend the money within 3 years. The last 2 years is for audit. Starting with 2017, they will be 4-year contracts. We have not, I think there was once when we had to ask for an extension into the last 2 years, and that was because there were problems with a changeover in computer systems here. But we generally always meet our 3-year deadline.
Good.
Chris?
Yeah.
Yes, what percentage of that money goes to helping low-income houses, and how many are you able to do it on average?
They all go too low. We cannot do, in doing the housing rehab program, every individual has to be determined eligible, so their income has to be below 80% of area median. What has happened, because we have home money, we've had to concentrate on people that are below 50% of area median income, and most of the people we're dealing with are at 30% of median income or just a little bit above that.
My question is, how much of the money through the grant goes to those houses, and how many houses would that, does it on average cover? 2 houses a year, 3 houses a year?
No, it depends on what kind of, how we can mix our home money and our CDBG money. All of the home money, well, wait a minute, let me see. 97% of the home money goes to construction. And in the past, it looks very odd because we've done 15 houses over the past 3 years. However, in one of those years, we really had no money, and we still did about 4 or 5 houses. From combining, whatever CDBG money we had, we finished a home program, a home grant, and it took at least a year to get approval for, we applied for money in 2014 for home money, and we didn't get an answer till 2016. So that generally affects how many houses we can do. It also is affected by the number of contractors we have working in the program, and the number that can do lead paint work, because the federal government requires that we reduce any lead paint hazards, and that can be anywhere from 0% of the cost to 50 to 60% of the cost of rehabilitation.
And then what's typically left over for other items like infrastructure or curb cuts?
We have not done a lot of infrastructure or curb cuts. Curb cuts we have done because they are a presumed benefit to low-income people. People with disabilities are considered to be low, moderate income. So we don't have to qualify people individually, or we don't have to qualify an area where we're going to do the project by doing a survey. So if you want to do infrastructure, and we did do that one year, when I first started here, we were part of the Hector Street reconstruction, and we had to do a survey to make sure that it was enough of a low-income area that the state would accept it as an eligible and fundable project. Welcome. Yes.
Are all your costs fixed costs, or are there ways to lower your costs in order to maintain the amount of homes you still do?
They're pretty much fixed. It pretty much depends upon what the going rate for construction is. The other issue that has come up in the last year is that the state is now requiring that any projects where the cost estimate is over $25,000, that we pay state prevailing wage. That increases our costs by 40 to 60%. So it's They have not made any determination on it, but it does increase. We have the most reasonable people working in the program for determining eligibility, doing the construction supervision, writing up the tech specs, that sort of thing. We did a RFP last year, and these were definitely the most reasonable costs we could get.
And we look through all these contractors and make sure that they are the most reasonable?
That's what my housing rehabilitation specialist does. He beats up on the contractors to make sure that the work is done as properly as we can. I'm not going to tell you they're the best contractors in the world, but they are not the worst contractors either, and we do want to make sure that they are in a position to do the work that is done, to have the work done satisfactorily. There's a 1-year warranty on the work that's done. Unless we redo a whole roof, then there's a 10-year warranty. So if something happens in the first year that, like the handrail falls off the wall, or something goes wrong with a window, then the contractor can go back and go back and take care of that under the warranty. But the roof if we do a full roof, that's not, if we just
10-year warranty on a full roof?
Yeah.
We're doing something wrong.
Why?
Seems to me that a roof usually now gets 25, 15.
No, this is what the state allows us to do. Yeah. And it's only if we replace the whole roof. If we recoat a roof, it's only a 1-year warranty.
Problem at state level. Okay.
Well, I'm not sure where the problem is, but that's what we're doing right now. And we have not been, it's not been suggested we change
Chris,
it.
that's the warranty on the workmanship, not the shingles themselves would come with a separate warranty.
Thank you. Any?
Chris, what's the wait list for qualified applicants right now?
I wrote that down. We have 31 people on the waiting list right now.
That are qualified?
No, they do, what we do is we submit the application that people fill out initially is very minimal. Name, address, income, income from assets, and that lets us do like a quick down and dirty, does this look like someone we have to say we're not even going to put you on the waiting list? And then when they come up when their name comes up on the waiting list, or when we are ready to process them, they're required to bring a whole bunch of different information with us, with their Social Security, pay stubs, bank statements. So the waiting list has people who have just been minimally qualified, and then we go into a full qualification. We're not going to spend the money if someone is making $100,000. We're just going to say, look, you're over income. But if someone is at within $1,000 of it, we might process them, because some of what they're saying may not be what the government requires us to consider, or their circumstances may change between the time they apply for assistance and the time we're able to process them.
So it's a 4-year contract. Is it is our process rolling?
Yes.
Or is it we do the first 2 years of qualification and?
No.
Okay.
It's a rolling, it is rolling. The only thing that has happened that has changed how we address things is the home program requires that we look at low-income people first, and anyone who is within a certain distance of the riverfront, because that's a redevelopment area, and they believe that improving those areas and stabilizing those areas is important. So we have about 31 people on the list right now that haven't been processed.
And do we set our parameters for who's looked at in priority order? Low income, do we say low income first, then river?
Yeah. No, we say low income or river,
Okay.
and then we go through that, and we've been doing those first, and we do have people who get processed. They look like they're low income and they may be moderate income, and we can do them as long as we are not doing them at the expense of serving low income people. Like, we're not going out and serving all the people who, are 80% of median income.
And is it a little bit of first come, first served wait list? Or?
We try to do as much of that as we can. The state has told us that first come, first serve is not the way we can do it anymore. We have to look at what those priorities, they let us establish what those priorities are, Tina, but, and we try to keep it as much first come, first serve as we can. And because if we didn't have some kind of, they've just eliminated that. So if we were to apply for a grant again, we wouldn't have to set those priorities. But the money we have gotten, in order to get the money, we had to set some kind of a priority. You're welcome. Michael Moss.
Any more questions?
Thank you very much. And
Thank
if
you,
I can
Chris.
have the sign-in sheets back, I'd appreciate it.
I'll call our regular meeting to order. And council, I don't have any announcements, so we have some presentations. Steph?
So,
What?
yes,
Mr.
Considering it is a school night, I was going to ask if we could possibly change the agenda and address item D under council business.
we have to do the public hearing first.
We can't, I just wanted to, if we could, jump to the legal matters. We have just a continuance that the court reporter's here for, that we can
And
go on
then
the
we'll
record.
Okay,
It'll
then
take a
we'll
minute.
be next in line right after that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm going
Steph.
to turn it over to Mr. Savona.
Very good. We're on the record. This is the time and place set by council for the continued hearing on the application of Millennium Waterfront Associates LP concerning an application for conditional use under section 27-1503 of the Conshohocken zoning ordinance relating to building height for a property located on the 200 block of Washington Street, otherwise identified as Millennium Block A. The applicant initially appeared before council on July 19th, 2017, and requested a continuance of this hearing to August the 16th, 2017. At that time, council reconvened this hearing and continued this matter on the applicant's request to today, October the 4th, 2017, at 7 p.m. By email correspondence today with the applicant's counsel, Ed Campbell, as well as counsel for the other interested parties, Carl Primavera and Ross Weiss. The consensus is that the applicant would like council to once again continue this scheduled hearing from today until October the 18th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in this chamber, which would be a continuance of 2 weeks. So the motion that I would request from council at this point would be to continue the hearing, the conditional use hearing scheduled for this evening to a date certain, October 18th, 2017 at 7 o'clock p.m. in council chambers here at Borough Hall.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Very well. The matter will be continued to October the 18th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the public meeting room of Borough Hall, and we're off the record. Thank you.
We'll move into council business then, and we'll jump to letter D, discussion on authorization to prepare an amendment to an advertisement for the traffic ordinance for the permanent installation of a stop sign on West 6th Avenue. So in July of 2017, the decision was to put up temporary stop signs on West 6th Avenue due to constituent concerns of traffic patterns on 6th Avenue. We've received feedback. We are nearing the end of that trial period, so we need right now, it's a discussion as to whether or not you would like to move forward with making that temporary stop sign a permanent. In order to do so, we'd have to make a change to the ordinance.
We need a motion, right?
Do we need a motion?
If council's inclined, the motion would be to direct the solicitor's office to prepare and advertise an amendment to the traffic ordinance to make permanent the installation of the stop sign presently in place by order of the mayor on West 6th Avenue.
Can I just ask if we've had feedback in positive and negative?
Had a lot of positive.
Yes, if
Yes,
wanna
you can.
come forward,
Please
I'd
come.
love to.
I know that these darling children are the reason that we are here. And of course, they should be first and foremost in our minds and in our hearts to keep them safe. I do not feel this evening sending them down to a stop sign to stand in front of a stop sign screaming. I think it was dangerous. They were there alone and telling people to stop. And I think that's a dangerous thing to do with children, to have them down there alone. I sent them back home, most of the children that were down there. they were trying to prove a point. The point is, the stop sign's done very little. People are barreling through it, first of all. I live right on 6th Avenue, right at the stop sign, where they're stopping and gawking into our homes. 3 of them have driveways there. They're just staring right into them. We have a lot of people that come in from other areas. They're not what we would love to have coming through, but they come through, and they're looking at the homes. It's a little fearful for me, being right there, that they're looking into my home, and I'm a little scared of that. When I try to get out of my home, it's very difficult. Tonight I almost got hit coming out of my home. Someone did not stop at the stop sign. He went right through it as I was coming out to make the right turn to come up here. That's a danger. At night, you have trucks coming through. They lower their gears, and then they raise them back up. I haven't seen much slowing down from it. I think we have more of a problem of the bar that is right across from where most of the children live than we do of stop signs. We did a traffic study, apparently, and I've talked to several people on the board and in the police force. They said we really didn't have a speeding problem there. As such, we had more of people going through the stop signs that were on opposite ends. That may have been a problem. Can't we put up signs that say, and I don't care if they're everywhere, that say, children at play, please slow down? It doesn't work? Well, this isn't working. This is causing more of a disaster than you can imagine. And if you come stand there for a day, you will see what I mean. I live right there. I am not here to tell you that this is a safe thing. It is not. It is not going to help these children. We have more of a problem at that bar than we have anywhere. First thing I would do is remove the people that come into that bar.
Yeah, but the bar's up the street from that.
Bars up the street from there, yes. And the people that come in to
It's in the
sell the
next
drugs
block.
and buy the drugs is a big problem. We do have a problem there. The police know it, I know it, everyone knows it. We have more of a problem there than we do with this stop sign. But these stop signs are wreaking havoc upon the 3 people that live right there. They're barreling through them. They are not causing anybody to slow down. I am telling you, I live there. I watch it every day. You're welcome to come see and to hang out there for a day.
I know.
I'm happy to have
I
you.
use it. I use 6th.
I'm happy to have you there, but I'm there all the time. I live there.
Can you state your name and your address for
Name's
the
Rhonda
record?
Shepard, 353A West 6th Avenue.
Thank you.
And I'm watching it. I'm telling you, it's not a good thing. Somebody's going to have a really bad accident.
Thank you.
Any more comment?
If there's any other, I guess we'll do public comment now.
So Mike Hamilton, 319 West 6th Ave. Lots of neighbors of mine here. Thanks for speaking. Thank you for sharing the report with me on the traffic study, as it was called. I won't go into a lot of detail on that. Common sense will just tell you a stop sign is going to cut the traffic flow in half, and it's going to improve it. Okay. As far as making it better in terms of backing out, every one of us that's on the angled side of the street, the south side of the street, has to back out. It drastically improves traffic for us having to back out because really our vision's cut down. Anytime you're trying to look around a vehicle, it's the vision that's cut down. Okay. If you want to go into the traffic study, that's fine. We can put a little bit of weight on that. Right now, 22 of the 24 hours that were reported in that study used a minimum average of 5 miles an hour. Anybody with the average statistics degree can just tell you that's going to go ahead and drag your average weight down below the 25 miles per hour. It's going to heavily weight it down. That's just the start of it. Okay. The study was designed, let's drop the actual sign in midway through. So it was set up to basically skew the results. The effort was there to go ahead and create studies and create the metrics around it, but we would have had to design a little bit more around where that was placed, both east and westbound, not just westbound, because eastbound's a problem too. But you'll see the kids. It's hands down, if you talk to what would be somewhere around then the 90th percentile on 6th Avenue, your qualitative feedback is that it's overwhelmingly positive. So I'll leave it with that. If we were to go into the metrics, we can go into that all day long on the report. It got us some statistical averages, but there's flaws there, and I don't want to waste anybody's time in that. I would just state that it can be improved, and I'd be happy to help out those types of studies given the background that I have in statistics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From
Michael, just a question for you, and I think I talked to a number of neighbors down there where you're talking about backing out of the angles.
Yes.
Would it benefit in any way to back in and front out?
Not really. What that's going to force you to do is when you want to turn and go eastbound, it actually really forces you to swing wide now and then actually turn into the oncoming traffic going westbound.
Kind of blind
Yeah.
for a little bit.
We'll do it every now and then, so you want to unload the back of your vehicle, and it's going to be a little bit more convenient there. But pulling out, certainly it then just creates, call it an unnecessary situation going the other way. If anything, the help for those that have rear view cameras, that actually can help you with a little bit of seeing down the traffic. You'll use that more than actually just being able to see around vehicles when backing out. So definitely the stop sign helps big time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Kaufman. I'm at 357 West 6th Avenue, so I'm 2 doors down from Rhonda. I know I'm in the minority here, so I'll keep this short, but I think this is a perception issue. The perception was people were speeding, whether we can contest the statistics in the report. What they are right now is it says the 85th percentile is about 25.14 miles per hour, which says that there really isn't a speeding issue. The biggest issue I'm having right now is backing out of my driveway in the morning. I have no idea if people are going to stop at the stop sign. I was talking to Mr. Sokolowski yesterday morning. We were standing out there for maybe 15 minutes, watching some people stop, roll, come to a full stop. It's hard to back out of my driveway and go west on 6th because the issue is if there are 2 cars on either side of my driveway, which is a lot of the problem on most mornings, I don't have a line of sight. And by the time I back out, I'm now wondering if the people that are coming east on West 6th, they're going to stop at the stop sign. If they do, they are blocking my driveway, which is fine. And if they're coming west on West 6th, are they stopping at the stop sign? And it's almost like backing out into a 3-way intersection where I'm the 4th way. I don't know what the solution is. I'm sure it is slowing some people down because the people that are stopping aren't gaining the speed immediately. But I can tell you heading down towards Caldwell, they seem to be picking up that speed pretty quickly again going down the hill. I don't know the other way. It's harder for me to see going that way. But it's an inconvenience, and it is dangerous. Like Rhonda said, there are mornings where I feel like I'm going to get hit more than I was going to get hit prior to this when there was no stop sign. So I don't know what the solution is. I know that it's kind of I don't want to call it a false positive, but obviously it's going to curb some of the speeding if that is an issue because there is a stop sign there now. It does cut the block in half. But I don't know. I'd love to bring another solution to the council. I don't know what one is. I don't know if there's another position on the street where we can put the stop sign that still has the effect of it being a stop sign but isn't right in front of people's driveways. Because my neighbors to the right of me are directly in the intersection. When they back out, they're in the middle of the intersection. So whereas I'm just outside of it, it's still an issue in the morning when backing out of the driveway. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Christine Riley, 336 West 6th Ave. Thank you for the stop sign. The kids would like to thank you for the stop sign. Change is constant and no one really likes change. I understand that. When I moved here 14 years ago, I was able to cross Fayette Street not at a stoplight. It's now becoming increasingly popular in Conshohocken, and I don't cross unless I'm at a stoplight now because it's just too hard to cross Fayette Street. That was a change I had to make. So if a stop sign has made things difficult, maybe you have to change something. But your convenience does not supersede these children's safety. And if one truck or motorcycle slows down that could have hit one child, then it's worth it.
I would agree with you if that was the case. That is not the case with the statistics.
I think you have to.
You said one child. It's in there that they drove over 50 miles an hour in the report. You're just as likely to drive between 10 and 15 miles an hour as you are between 35 and 40.
One person is saved, I would like to see.
It's a small thing to ask the council of Conshohocken to do.
Hold up. Hold it.
Folks.
One at a time.
One at a time.
I've raised 12 of them.
Okay.
Well,
No, excuse me. Folks.
One person at a time.
I wouldn't have sent
Yeah.
my kids down to the stop sign without parental guidance.
Ladies and gentlemen,
First of all,
this,
it's like you're
wait.
judging. I was out there with
Wait.
Excuse us!
Was I not there? Was I not there?
Order! Lead the solicitor to talk.
Excuse me, can we have order?
Solicitor talk, please.
We do have a resident speaking, I think we should let the resident speak,
Right.
and
just-
not argue, and let her continue her opinion as we have respected everyone else's. Thank you.
Stop sign is a small financial undertaking for a great safety benefit to the children. And I don't see why it should be something that's shot down because of some inconveniences to a few residents in the immediate area. I would love it in front of my house. I would love, do you want to put those humps? We'll take those, we'll take
So,
whatever
folks-
you want. but-
Folks, not to interrupt you,
Okay.
but there are certain ground rules we need to follow in a public forum like this. This is a business meeting of council. The opportunity for citizens to address council is for members of the public to make comments to the decision makers who are here on the dais. It is not to debate things back and forth on the floor. It's not appropriate for you to interject, overtop someone else's comment. And everybody can be recognized by the chair and have your opportunity to say your piece to council, but to engage in banter, debate, or a back and forth dialogue, you can do that out in the hall. It's not to be done here in this room. So I just ask that when you come to the podium, make your comments to council. Council will give it full consideration. Those of you who are in the audience, please refrain from commenting to the person who's making their comment. That's just
Thank you.
not proper.
I followed the rules, right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the stop sign. Please don't take it down. It's worth one car slowing down to save one kid from crossing that street and not getting hit. It's not that difficult to put it up. If you can make it permanent, people will start to get used to it. I know they're rolling through. I see it happen. They're not used to it yet. Once they get used to it, 6th Ave is one of the few streets that cuts through Caldwell to Fayette, and it gets a lot of traffic. And there are motorcycles and trucks that speed up. If we can just slow them down so they do have to restart, that split second is all we need for these kids to be able to cross safely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine, do you think that the sign is it, and Ray, maybe, is it at regulation height? It seems lower. Yeah.
I know it's there, but I can see where someone could just be driving along and, oh no, that was a stop sign after they're halfway through it.
Right.
And it's wide there as well, so I think it might need the stop sign and maybe a no park zone a little bit, whatever feet or yardage away, so that you can see it, because right now the cars are parking right up to the alley and right up to probably your driveways, so there's not, the visibility is probably something that should be considered if it's going to be a permanent, when it becomes a permanent structure.
Right.
Yeah, that's Karen.
Ray, what happened to the blinkers that were on the stop signs to make people more aware of them?
Yeah, are they solar? Is that why they're?
I don't know.
They're battery operated, and they're single battery operated. We ordered two battery operated systems for the winter.
Okay.
It'll be solar next summer, but we're going to, this is all based on the fact that this was temporary.
Okay.
We didn't want to order anything.
Right.
Unless we had a permanent solution. If this will be a permanent solution, then we have plenty of things that we could put in and around the stop sign, the paintings on the roadway, stop bars across the front of the road. There's a lot of things that we can do to make it a permanent solution.
Okay.
Everything you see there is based on this being a temporary stop sign.
Thank you.
It'll be much better.
Permanent things will help increase visibility, I guess.
Come on back.
Yes, may I ask you a question? Since this lady would like to move.
Can you please come to the podium? Thank you.
I'm sure my neighbors are very nice, and I really love that they love their children, and I adore children. I think it's a wonderful thing. Is there any way to move them closer to their homes? Because we're going to have the neon blinking stop signs. I didn't move to Times Square. I can't get out of my home safely, nor can my neighbors. I want these children to be safe. I think that is all of our concern, is that these children are safe. That is the most important thing. I say that from the bottom of my heart. is there any way to move the stop signs closer to them so that they are safer, not in the middle of nowhere land, not to make it difficult that one of us is going to get hit. I assure you, one of us will be hit. And I assure you that one of us will not be happy about it. I would like to state that for the record, that one of us will be hit, and it will not be our fault that we get hit, because someone's going to come through, and one of us will get hurt. I don't want them hurt more so than I don't want myself hurt. But somebody is going to get hurt this way. So is there any way we can go back to the drawing board and look at it like adults? And you can be angry with me. I only want your children to be safe. I promise you, I've raised 12 of them.
Ma'am, please direct your comments to council. It's
Well,
not.
they're my neighbors. I think you do the
understand,
right thing.
but this
I
is-
think you do the right thing with heart these days.
Please direct your comments to council.
If
So-
you see what happens in the world.
So on that note,
Small community.
I can say that we've heard everyone's approval and concerns. And obviously, for the most part, the stop signs have done a good thing for the children and the residents down further. So on that note, maybe the police and maybe Ray could look at the street a little further to see if there is another area on the street, down a little bit, up a little bit, that may make more sense. I'm not saying remove the stop sign at all. We need the stop sign, we all get that. But maybe there is a solution in the movement and study, maybe there isn't. But looking at it will keep everyone happy.
Its placement is quite awkward.
It may not,
I don't know how much it has helped up there. They're saying it has. We're saying, the record shows that the speeding is so-so, that there's not much speeding going on anyway. People are plowing through them, so that safety is not good.
Well, and I'm going to say, if it saves one child, it's worth it.
I agree with you there.
And I'm going to say
But I'm not sure
again.
it's going to if people are plowing through
Right,
them
I'm
there.
going to say again, maybe we could do a little more
I think
research
we need some
on
more
where
research.
it
I would
is.
agree with you on that.
And go from there. Council have any other suggestions on that?
Paul, when we were out looking where to place this, did we come up with any other areas while we were down there? Yeah, for the stop sign. Right.
One of the officers has something to say. Connors? Sergeant,
I'm sorry?
You want to say something?
I'm sorry, does every other street
Excuse me.
where they're freely, don't they have a stop sign there? We're the only ones who do not.
As far as the placement of stop signs,
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes made a statement about placing it at an intersection, which is the alleyway. Once it's put in code, we have some measures to put in place about having parking from here to the intersection, which the alleyway is considered an intersection, so it would give visibility for that stop sign. And then we could also work with code to be able to raise the tree line level to make sure that it's clear line of sight all the way through. All those combined with the flashing lights that are going to be implemented on, if council deems to make it permanent, should increase the visibility. Having lines put across the street and then having law enforcement there on a regular basis, so it's going to be monitored. Those who travel through it regularly, such as commuters, will know that the law enforcement's watching that intersection diligently. All that combination usually does pay off to make a little more of a awareness that the stop sign is in effect, it will be enforced, and all of it in conjunction should have a benefit to the community.
What about the cars that park right at the stop sign?
Well, that's part of the signage about parking, no parking from here to intersection. So I think it's roughly around 15 feet is what we normally do. But we can't put those signs up unless it's been put in code that that is now an official stop sign and intersection protection gets implemented.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment. I admittedly traveled down, or was traveling down, West 6th, because West 5th had a stop sign. So I would travel that way, and now if it's one less stop sign, that seems to be the path that you would naturally go. So it's made a difference for me. And as the mother of a 9-year-old and all these children that I know, and I would think that the stop sign's a great idea, but you know what, without Harper here, I don't know if we could do anything about it.
She's at soccer practice, she's gonna be so upset.
But what I would, and I don't know what type of motion or what recommendation, but in order for us to take the next steps to determine what makes sense and evaluate it further, but I'd like to,
So the motion, as I think I stated at the beginning of the discussion, the motion would be to authorize the Solicitor's Office to prepare an amendment to the traffic ordinance and to advertise that amendment in order to make a permanent installation of the stop sign in place presently on West 6th Avenue that's in place presently by order of the mayor. We can do that in consultation with borough staff as to the precise placement of the sign, so that when the ordinance comes to you, it will be set in specific detail. But a motion would be in order to that effect.
and I'd like to make that motion.
And I'll second it.
I got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
We'll move back into the presentation portion of the evening. President Griffin, if you're okay.
Okay.
Mr. Borkowski?
Attempt your overhead camera piece again. We had a little difficulties this last week, but we'll give it a shot.
So to preface the presentation, the property of 307 East 9th Avenue is in front of you tonight for discussion only. Mr. Borkowski will be going back to Planning Commission before your October 18th meeting. And if we're so inclined at that point, we will evaluate it for a combined approval rather than a piecemeal. So tonight is discussion.
I'm going to say that I don't believe that that was our understanding of what the recommendation that came out of the Planning Commission was, and let me walk through where we are, and then.
Well, let me just walk through so you can maybe cut the chase. My understanding was, in speaking to the Planning Commission's attorney, that the only reason that that the Planning Commission didn't make a recommendation on a full preliminary final approval was because you didn't have elevations or renderings. We don't typically approve a minor subdivision and then go forward with a preliminary final on something like this. Obviously, this is a residential development. Given that you have the opportunity to go back to planning this month, and in order to save you having to make another application, if we approve this as a minor subdivision, you then have to make a second application for preliminary final approval, which would increase your time and the cost. It seems that it's a lot more efficient for the applicant if you go back to the Planning Commission with those renderings, and then we'll do a preliminary final approval resolution in 2 weeks.
So as long as we think the whole thing is going to be back before you in 2 weeks, then I think we're fine.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Okay. The concern coming out of the Planning Commission was that we were adding 2 months, a month more
No.
onto
I
the
think
process.
when we discussed it at the staff level internally, and after looking at the Planning Commission's recommendation, if that's really all they wanted to see,
Yes.
go back to the Planning Commission, show them the elevations and the renderings. They'll make a final recommendation as to preliminary final, and I think we would much prefer to deal with it in that way, rather than taking it out of the normal order. I mean, I don't think council's approved just a minor subdivision without doing the full approval in years. And it actually would take you more time, I think, to do it that way.
Well, again, our worry, based on the conversations with Planning Commission last week, was that we were going to be at least a month behind. If it sounds like we're going to be back in 2 weeks with the whole show, then I don't think we have any objection to proceeding that way.
As long as you've got the elevations to take to the Planning Commission at their next meeting.
That's correct. That's
And
October
we
12th.
they've already been submitted.
So you should be
we're,
good.
Yeah, so we're moving forward on that. So I'll just give you a really quick overview then. of where we are. This is both a subdivision and development. There is an existing lot with an existing home on it. Under the zoning code, this lot is eligible for twin. However, the home that is there now is actually quite charming and is a home that really we think should be saved. And Mr. Borkowski is in the process of renovating and updating the interior of that home. So the approach instead of twins was to do two single-family homes side by side. He's been to zoning and has received all of the relief that he needs for those reduced lot widths. There are some conditions that go along with that with respect to easements, and we have no objection to any of those, and we'll work with the solicitor's office to develop those agreements. But what this really does is allow for that home to be saved and a second home to be built on the property where two dwelling units would otherwise be permitted. In order to do the twins, he would obviously have to take down the existing home. We were at the Planning Commission last week. The only question really that was remaining were the elevations. They wanted to see a bit more than what we had. He's got some photographs that they very much liked of other construction that they have seen that he's done, but they wanted to see those in more detail. So those have been now submitted, and we'll be going back to them to have that conversation. We do have the review letters. It was entirely will comply. I think there's one small waiver that will come back for with respect to grading that I think it even says in the engineer's letter is pretty routinely granted. So we don't think there are really any issues outstanding at this point, and it is an opportunity to save a pretty unique little character home in the borough.
And as I think we've already indicated, the Planning Commission did recommend it, but for the issue with the renderings or the elevations. So unless there's any other questions?
Do you have the 5 feet between two houses?
We do. There will be a permanent easement between the two houses, and there's an agreement that will be entered into in connection with that. There's also an agreement as a result of conditions, I believe, that were imposed by the zoning hearing board, that there will be no fence between there. So that will be a permanent 5-foot open space that both properties will be able to access.
And is the parking in the rear of the property?
The parking is in the rear of the property. This is an odd little lot in that the existing home is sort of shifted to one side of the property, but there are two existing garages at the rear. So we think at some point, somewhere along the way, there was another house here. One of those, based on conversations with the neighbor, the immediate neighbor, the one garage is going to be relocated because of the proximity to her property line. The other one will remain in its present condition. So there will be rear access parking for both units.
We do thank you for the 8-foot porch.
You're welcome.
I'd like to say thank you because this is exactly the kind of development we would like to continue to have in Conshohocken. You're preserving an old home and adding a new single home. That's wonderful. So thank you for looking at it that way. Thank you.
I do have one question. The front porches don't line up. They're offset.
Is
there a reason for that?
With the new construction,
Mhm.
will.
Okay.
The existing one sits out further as it is. So the majority of the block, when we build a new one, will be conformed to.
Okay.
Is the old house occupied now, or you got that set aside?
No.
You can.
Thank you. And I apologize for the elevations. I had pictures.
That's what that list is for.
You won't do that again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They have a list.
Carry on.
Ms. Stetler, if you could please come to the podium. We'll move on to council business, considering 303 West 10th Avenue, the zoning hearing board application.
Yes, this is, I'm sorry. Too many papers. All right, the proposed application, we have, thank you. No, that was, thank you. See, we always have things covered here. We have received 2 applications for a zoning hearing from 2 lots which are next to each other. So the properties are connected, the houses on the properties are connected, and the garages are connected. The petition, the owners of the properties they are very small garages, both are in deteriorated condition, and the owners wish to demolish the existing garages and construct new garages, which would also be attached. So the properties meet with the proposed garages would be attached, which would mean they would need a variance for the side yard setback from the property line of an accessory structure, because you would be missing 3 feet for either garage. They also propose to construct larger garages, which would be more 2-car garages. And the height, they are not really certain, but they are going to ask for the variances for the height to exceed the 15 feet for a peaked roof that is permitted under the zoning ordinance. The owners are both here, or one of them is here. One of them is here who can answer questions on this. If this is for borough consideration, zoning hearing would be scheduled for this in November. So Mr. Scharf is here if you wish to ask him questions about this or have questions for me about the ordinance.
So Chris, these new garages would fit 2 cars each?
They're about 480, am I correct? 480 square feet, which is what the zoning hearing board has approved in the past in terms of increasing the size of garages. They would also might be a little bit higher because they would be used, tops might be used for storage, hard to say.
So that would take 4 cars off the street?
Yes.
Okay, and they back up to the alley?
This is unique, this is West 10th Avenue. So what they do is they back up to the drive that goes between West 10th Avenue and Sutcliffe Park. So it's a larger area. And they're, the parking for, I know at least one of these has always been, they've parked on the lawn, they've parked, next to the garage. And with families, multiple vehicles, this will at least get would provide the option for 4 cars being off the street.
And do other neighbors' garages back up?
Yeah, there are other garages. Yeah, there are other garages.
So this is consistent with the whole
neighborhood. And both of these properties are owned by the same individual?
No, they are not owned by the same person. So there has to be 2 separate zoning applications because they are 2 separate parcels.
Right. Have there been 2 applications filed, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the question would be whether we can hold one hearing or whether it will be one hearing after another. But they would both be scheduled for November the 6th.
And they both need the same relief? I'm looking at your summary.
Yes.
There were 3 variances. One's the lack of the 3-foot setback, one's the size, and one is potentially the height, correct?
Yes.
All right. And were you recommending the conditions that there be landscaping to mitigate the visual impact on neighboring properties?
These are requirements that are in the zoning ordinance, that they be consistent with, at least complementary to the properties, and that there be some landscaping. That would be for the zoning board to add those conditions. But that is what is in the ordinance.
Gotcha.
Do you have any questions for the applicant? Comments?
Make a recommendation?
So we have to change this ordinance, the
Understand,
sizes
Bob.
of the garages.
Understand, Bob.
More people in Conshohocken want to build garages and put their cars in them.
Right.
And I think that's on our list of,
Right.
right, Mike?
It
We're
is.
working on that. Right?
It's going to be part of your comprehensive zoning update.
Yes.
Next
At this point, council is inclined, that this would normally be where you would make a determination whether you want to support, take no position, or oppose the application. And if you're in support of it, a motion would be in order to direct my office to write a letter to the zoning board expressing council's support for this requested relief, and I would then send that to the zoning board solicitor prior to the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Write your letter, Mike.
Ms. Stetler, if you want to roll into the
Yes, I will.
transfer of unused CDBG funds?
Okay. Here's where my information was. As part of our 2014 and 2015 Community Development Block Grant programs, we had money set aside for curb ramp installation. 6 curb ramps were installed in the 7th Ward, and we just finished that in August, and we had budgeted $40,000 for the project. The cost came in at $35,000, which means we have $5,000 allocated to a project that's completed. Given timing on things, we would like to transfer the remaining $5,000 from one approved project to another approved project in the 2015 program year, and that would mean putting that $5,000 into the housing rehabilitation line. This requires approval from the Department of Community and Economic Development, and before they will approve it, they will want to see that council has approved it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I got a motion, a second to approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion item. The Keystone Property Group has turned in a rendering for the YMCA sign, which is an outstanding item for this building. You have a rendering in your packet of what they have proposed as a potential sign addition to this building. In order for them to move forward, they require approval from Borough Council. Any questions, discussion?
My only question, will it be lit at night? Will there be lights on it at night, or, no?
Don't believe so.
No, so there's no,
There's no illumination to the sign.
at night, okay.
Do it have to be a certain size?
Yeah.
Chris? Do the sign have to be a certain size, or?
Okay, that's what's unique about this. The building is owned by the borough. The borough is exempt from its own zoning ordinance. So, however, the YMCA is not the borough, nor are either of the other spaces that are supposedly to be leased. This isn't.
The lease, we did contemplate this, if you recall, Chris, in the lease agreement.
No, I don't, because I was not involved in this
Okay.
one.
In the lease agreement, the master lease that we signed with Keystone that governs that space acknowledged that the entire borough building is borough property. Even though it's been condominiumed, we did not sell that space. So technically, that front condo unit is borough property. What we did in order to accommodate some check and balance on the size and type of signage, the lease requires that any proposed sign package has to be generally consistent, but ultimately subject to approval by Borough Council. So you have the ability and some flexibility in terms of what you are and are not willing to approve.
What they are proposing is larger than what is generally permitted in the business commercial district, which would be 35 square feet for the entire building. So to do any kind of a sign is going to require some kind of approval, whether that be from Borough Council or from the zoning hearing board. But it is also going to affect signage for other lessees in this building. If that is the way the agreements were written, then it really is up to you to decide whether the size is too large, whether the location is where you want it to be, and any other conditions you would want to impose upon it.
Chris, how much larger? How much
It's
larger?
45 square feet.
As 45?
35 square feet is permitted in the business commercial district, which is where this building is located. And the sign that is being proposed is 45 square feet.
So where are you proposing to put it?
On the wall. It's a wall sign.
So based on the image and the scale of the building, I don't know, Bob, if you can see it, it fits with the scale of the building.
I don't think you could read it.
So just as some background on this, this is the 4th submission by Keystone. This is the submission that is anything that is worthy of putting in front of you. So what we're looking for this evening is feedback that will be passed on to Keystone as to whether or not this is an acceptable version of a sign that they owe the YMCA.
Mike, what happened to the marquee that we had talked about when this construction was going on that would say the Borough of Conshohocken, the YMCA, and then whatever retail was below it?
Well, if you recall, I think that was a long time ago.
That was a long
and
time
we did
ago.
construct the one marquee sign at the corner.
Right,
There
but
was
there
a
was supposed to
second
be a
marquee that was
second one.
contemplated.
Right.
But I believe that since then, Keystone has proposed, and there's been some discussion about, as to the YMCA has always wanted a more prominent sign because this is their headquarters, and they didn't believe that marquee sign would have been sufficient. There's also been a lot of discussion about, in the process of dealing with tenants in the retail space or the front space, typically they're going to want signage at their location and not on a marquee. So I don't know that Keystone has proceeded with that original idea.
Okay.
And everything that I've seen so far that Stephanie has passed along about the YMCA signage has not been consistent with a small sign on a marquee.
Okay. I'm not happy with the size. No. I want it smaller.
I think our building's too big for a small sign. I think that this fits the scale.
I think it's attractive and
You're
it's
okay with it?
legible
I
from
am.
the road. That would be
Right.
something that
Okay.
if you're driving
And
by.
that's the
Okay.
only sign they've
They're
done?
gonna have.
They
Yeah,
don't
I
want
think
one
so.
around the front, they just want it.
Yeah. This is in the front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's on
Where that
the front
idle
corner.
piece is.
Yeah. Okay.
And the pin mount, it looks like it's
Oh,
against
it is facing
the
the
brick.
right.
It's not
Yes.
standing out.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm okay with
It's
it.
not on the side.
I'm good with it.
I don't either. I think it's attractive.
Someone in the audience could see what we were sign also.
You got it? We'll just put it, you can
No, I know.
Yeah, she'll-
shine it down.
No, I don't think it's set up to get cake.
Put it under the cameras on the
No, but I don't know
table.
where they are.
I'll help you.
Shoot over.
To the other side.
Other one.
Go on. There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go, right there.
Yeah. Even bigger, it looks fine.
Seems appropriate.
So if you're okay with that sign, are there any conditions that you'd like me to pass on that you're not okay with? For example, you do not want it to be illuminated?
Correct.
Okay, is there anything else in that?
They definitely need to be pin mounted to the wall and not sticking out.
Okay,
And I'm sorry, is it white?
it's the same silver that's consistent with
Okay.
the rest of the,
That makes sense.
Do I need a motion, Mike?
If council's ready, you could approve the design as submitted by Keystone, and that would enable them to move forward without further delay.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign.
I got a motion, do I have a second?
I'm recusing myself from the vote.
No, Mike. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
with,
Motion carries.
with Councilman Stokely recused.
Yes.
Okay.
Note that Bob excused herself.
Can, Britt, can you get her? President Griffin, I'm going to move to manager matters. There is one item that I have to put on as an addition to the manager matters.
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay.
Right ahead.
So I'm going to start with saying that transparency in government is paramount. It is and has always been council's desire and goal for the Borough of Conshohocken to operate with openness, accountability, and honesty. At the last council meeting, members of the public made certain accusations pertaining to council regarding the borough's insurance. Additionally, the borough has received right-to-know requests pertaining to Jason Salas, the borough's insurance broker, and the borough's insurance carrier. In keeping with the topic of transparency, it's important for the public to understand that in 2016, the Borough of Conshohocken saved approximately $156,000 by issuing our insurance with Travelers Company through Cohen Partners, LLC, as opposed to issuing our insurance with Delaware Valley Insurance Trust. Given this significant financial savings, Cohen Partners, LLC and Travelers was clearly the fiscally responsible choice for taxpayer dollars in 2016. Divot declined to quote the borough with insurance in 2017 since our experience modification for workers' compensation was too high. Additionally, the Borough of Conshohocken can legally decide to work with any insurance broker it chooses on an annual basis. That being said, we still have the matter of addressing the accusations made and answering the right-to-know requests, which require a query search of the borough email server and redaction of any and all emails that are not specific to the right-to-know request. Understand that this is a large undertaking. To give you some context, we are still attempting to shift through emails within the designated scope of Mr. Tierney's right-to-know request from August. Therefore, given borough staff limitations, it's my recommendation that the borough retain special outside counsel with an expertise in municipal and right-to-know law who have the staff and capabilities to handle requests of this magnitude, understand that the average hourly rate for outside counsel to satisfy these requests is approximately $200 an hour. In addition, this will require collaboration with the borough's IT consultant, whose hourly rate is $125 an hour. I don't think I have to say that it's unfortunate that these unforeseen expenditures will diminish a portion of the aforementioned savings, along with any other earmarked expenditures for fiscal year 2017 or fiscal year 2018, since this is an unbudgeted expense that will have to tap into borough financial reserves. However, as I said earlier, transparency is paramount. Therefore, my recommendation tonight is that the Borough of Conshohocken retain the law firm of Lamb Meckerlane in order to successfully satisfy the right-to-know requests on this topic and address accusations made. It's important to note that all law firms considered were purposely selected from outside Montgomery County, and conflict checks were conducted to ensure no conflict exists with representing the borough in this manner. So with that being said, Mr. President, I will need a motion to appoint Lamb Meckerlane as our counsel for this matter.
Do I have a motion to sustain?
I will make the motion to appoint Lamb Meckerlane as the legal counsel for this.
I have a second?
I'll second that.
I got a motion and a second. Motion carried.
Well, is there any discussion on the motion first? Is there any discussion on the motion first?
No.
Discussion from council.
Or questions?
Or questions.
Any questions?
From here.
No.
Yeah.
What questions from? The borough?
Public comment, yep.
Public comment, yes.
From the public, yeah.
Before you vote, yes.
Joe Malzita, 200 Wood Street. As far as transparency goes, I'm hopeful that the borough takes the borough's well-being first and foremost. I don't see it as imperative that we spend money to investigate something if the borough went another way to save the borough money. To me, there's no sense to save it here, to spend it here, if there's another way to satisfy whatever problem that you're coming across.
So the problem is that we have to answer the right-to-know requests, and the scope of those right-to-know requests require a large search of the officer. We, by law, have to answer those right-to-know requests.
But from what I get, it's just like petulant children fighting over something that's senseless use of borough's finances. There has to be a better way to approach it other than pissing money to the wind. Excuse my
Mike, you want to make a comment?
All right.
I can say, unfortunately for council, we have to respond. We did not initiate it. We have to responsibly respond to what has been asked of us, and this is the only way that we can do it. We are not happy with having to hire another attorney, but it's something as council we have to do. We don't really have a choice in the matter. It's
It's a state law.
Yeah.
The law.
We have to follow the law.
We
Well,
have to.
Yeah.
But then I guess going forward, there's got to be a better way so we don't, we can't run.
That would generate from the public.
It's generated
Okay.
from the public started.
Huh?
The public started it. And if we don't answer to it, it's the conflict of interest. That's why you got to get this lawyer.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't,
But thank you.
No,
Right.
thank
No,
you.
we appreciate-
We do,
We-
we do.
we- what's going-
We appreciate that.
We would love to do it the way you want it to, but we can't.
Unfortunately,
We
we
don't have a
can't.
choice in it unless it would be withdrawn.
Yes.
Thank you.
Debbie Ellis, West Fourth Avenue. I have a question. Could we have open bidding on your insurance, and this would do away with everything? Have companies submit bids and take the lowest bid on the insurance? That would do away with anybody requesting anything, anybody thinking something's not above the board.
So it's just, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and just, I want to make it clear again. The borough's insurance is bid. You don't buy insurance from a broker, right? You buy it from the carrier, from Travelers, from Blue Cross, whoever.
Right.
So the broker's role is to go to those companies and competitively seek proposals to come back to the borough with a package that is the lowest price that he or she can possibly get. The insurance is competitively bid.
Then what's the problem?
The issue that's been raised here is that the broker, the individual who was working on behalf of the borough to solicit those proposals, changed in 2016 to a firm that has an affiliation with a political official, and the accusation that was raised at the meeting 2 weeks ago is that that creates a conflict or an appearance of a conflict of interest. And based upon council's consideration of the implications of that, and I think in an effort to try to be as transparent as possible, and to follow up on the right-to-know requests that have come as a result of that discussion, they're engaging a completely separate outside counsel to do a review and investigation to determine, one, if there was any wrongdoing in the changing over of the broker, and two, to respond to these voluminous right-to-know requests.
So council could avoid that if they don't use the same broker next year?
I don't think it's avoidable at this point. I mean, you could probably avoid it in 2018 if they
But not
changed
now.
brokers. But the same could be said for any individual. Another broker that you choose may have an affiliation with somebody else that someone in the public doesn't like. I mean, you always run that risk when you choose a professional. So at this point, I think we're dealing with just with the issue that's in front of council right now, which is, was there any impropriety in the selection of this broker to perform this service in 2016 and 2017? And that's why we're, I think, looking to outside counsel to give an independent review.
But I think it probably could have been avoided if they didn't take the head of the Democratic Party for this area as a broker.
So
if it has
we
any
were
party affiliation.
We were presented with a cost savings for the total package. So there wasn't, we weren't taking the head of the Democratic Party as the cost savings. We were taking the savings from Travelers Insurance as what we voted on.
Okay, I understand
So-
that, but
so
it
your
could have
question
been-
to-
yeah, couldn't it be avoided by not using a different broker that could get you the
So
same?
moving forward,
Yeah,
your
right.
question to that
Right, so we don't
is
have this.
we all have learned that there are additional questions that need to be asked as we make decisions like that in the future. So yes, there have been there will be process changes as we move forward as a council in
Right.
identifying how we select.
So at 2018, we're not up here saying, oh, we have to spend, you aren't up here saying we have to spend money
You got
on
it.
that.
So
Correct.
in the
Okay.
history of council asking who were the officers or who were involved in a firm has never happened. It's never been an issue. It's never been asked.
I think the issue, though, was him getting the broker fee of $30,000. That's when all this started.
So again, I'm going to say, it was never asked. It had never, ever been asked, ever, who owns or who is an officer in a company when we hire them. That is the new process. Now, we have to look at everything and say, is this company politically affiliated with this, or is this person? It's nothing that's ever had to be done, which is why it was not.
Okay.
Does that make it
No, it makes a
understandable?
lot of sense. I understand now. It's just that it's a shame we
So
have to put out that
for-
much money.
For us, it's a learning curve. Now, we know that we need to question everything before we do it,
Okay.
which is a shame.
It is a shame, but like I said, now we have to put out all that money we could use elsewhere in the borough.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Steph? Any more comments? Okay.
Do they need to make the motion?
The motion, I think, was made and seconded. If there's no
Moved
other
and
comments, the
seconded.
vote would be in order.
You make the motion?
We made,
Just need a
motion was
vote.
made and
Need a
seconded.
vote.
You made the motion, you just need to vote.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
There are no other department matters or legal matters, President Griffin, so moving on to council members' matters.
No. I don't have any matters. You got any matters?
I'm good.
Good?
I do want to thank Borough Works, Mr. Sokolowski and the Borough Workers for the improvements at the A Field. It looks beautiful. They've done a great job there. Everyone should go up and see how it looks and enjoy using it.
I have one thing. It has come to my attention that one of my constituents, he and his wife, had given us a document that has been framed called the American Creed. I would like to present them with a citation for giving that to us. So it is sitting in the conference room on the second floor.
I'd like to thank them, right? We're not citing them for.
Well, it's been a long day.
Certificate of appreciation.
Yes, a show of appreciation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's great.
Anybody else got anything?
I just have.
One last item I just thought of. Just a special thank you to the AME Church and Pastor and all of her people up there for having the free luncheon for the entire borough. They put out a nice spread, the police were invited, the fire police, borough was there. They must have fed about 100 people that day. And just out of the kindness of their hearts and to say thanks to the borough. So, again, special thanks to those guys. They did a great job.
And I just wanted to make a plug for the community centers having their Halloween pumpkin painting day, 12 o'clock on October 21st. If you have any little nieces, nephews, kids, bring them on up. Thank you.
And the Comprehensive Plan Task Force is moving along. I just want to invite everyone on October 19th at 7 p.m. at Washies. We'll be having our public visioning meeting. We are really trying to get a diversity of community, so I'm encouraging all to attend.
Thank you. Okay, any more public comment? Well, with that, Mark, I can say, meeting adjourned.